1989 was a pretty important year for the world. It was a year when Tim Berners-Lee created HTTP, the protocol that gave birth to the World Wide Web. And then in 2007 was another incredible time in the world, when of course we had the global financial crisis. There wasn't a person on the planet and a company and even a government that wasn't concerned when it came to the dissipation of trust. And it was at that time, of course, a white paper appeared from Satoshi Nakamoto, a him, a her, a collective mind that created the Bitcoin protocol that, of course, today has enabled an incredible set of not only evolution, but one could call it a revolution. 2015, an incredible year for the world. EVERLEDGER began in the heart of London in April. I'm a software engineer. I've come from Australia and I've spent the better part of my existence behind a keyboard. I know and understand technology incredibly well, and I've been involved in the diamond and jewelry industry since 2007. I've had my fair share of being involved in innovation waves across the better part of the last 20 years of my career. And when I saw an industry that I love so dearly, 500 years in the making, the diamond industry, having a desire and a need and a desperation to transform trust, the relationship they hold not only with the compatriots of the supply chain, but with consumers. And it was at this point that I realised it was a time upon which we could combine the very best of emerging technologies to build a platform of provenance, a platform that had never been built before. Of course, we have seen procurement systems, large enterprises like SAP and Salesforce give birth to incredible enterprise applications, but no one really asked the question, where did it come from? So we did, and we did something about it. So in 2015, we had a vision for EVERLEDGER, and this is what it looks like. Let's play the video. We created relationships with the major certificate houses around the globe in America, India, Israel, and Antwerp, where they grade and certify the diamonds. Now, not only do we capture the 4 Cs, but 40 metadata points of that diamond, a digital twin, to enable that to be known and seen and written into the blockchain. We now know where diamonds are being sold, not only on online retail networks like Amazon and eBay, but we work with insurance companies to reduce fraudulent claims, with banks so they can finance the diamond pipeline more efficiently. And we transcended all of our knowledge out into the consumer and retail networks. In 2015, we had an ambitious plan to be able to at least identify the diamond at a scientific level and enable that to be made as a part of a consumer consciousness decision at the retail outlets across the world. This was our vision in 2015, and as we stand today, EVERLEDGER has over 2 million diamonds on the platform. We've moved into coloured gemstones, emeralds, rubies, and sapphires, into fine art, and I'll talk a little bit more about where we're going after today. There's something about the reasoning behind why EVERLEDGER has enabled a production platform in use now for over 3 years. Yet, in 2015, it was a whisper on many people's lips. Sometimes it was hidden in a Starbucks cafe. What's the true potential of this technology? The diamond industry, 500 years in the making. Rough diamonds are extracted out of the ground at about $15 billion annually. And it transcends across the world. In Surat, in one location in India, about 90% of the world's diamonds are cut and polished. And that's about 47 billion. And by the time it hits the retail network, not set in a diamond ring, $72 billion. It's a rock. It's cut and polished. And yet, in the mid-tier of the market, the diamond cutters and polishers survive on single-digit 1% margins. At the time that EVERLEDGER was created, we understood the challenges within industry. I'm an alumni with the GIA. I'm not a gemologist, but I understand diamonds are more than just 4 Cs in colour and clarity. There were already scientific methods that existed within the industry to capture the identity of the diamond as it was transforming across the pipeline, whether it be at the extraction point in mine, whether it be in the diamond manufacturers in India, where a CT, like the ultrasound of the baby, was effectively known by the manufacturers. And at Retail Network, we then are able to take the entirety of this information and produce it for a consumer to see not only where the diamond has come from, but the hands that it's passed across the world. I've subscribed to the future of blockchain in so many different ways, and one thing I'm very clear about is blockchains alone will not solve for physical supply chain traceability. It must come together in a consortium of technologies, a symphony of technologies to enable the digital identity of a physical object to have scientific certainty. And that is the work that we have done at EVERLEDGER. It can take into the forms of either machine vision, of course, which is largely starting to capture identity of people, but that can also be transformed into the identity of objects. Resonant ultrasound, the sound waves of objects, are also individualized in a thumbprint. We are fortunate in that diamonds are unique by their very nature. They are a snowflake. So to capture that identity across scientific methods, enable that in a registry across the world so that certification, finance and insurance is able to be taken out at a trustful layer, something that had not existed before today. You know, there are 91 countries in the world that came together in the year 2000 after the United Nations said blood diamonds no longer has a place in this world. And it was because of the consortium that was already in existence, the partnerships across public and private endeavours that enabled an industry to come together to solve not only blood diamonds, but now today, adopt transaction and technologies like blockchain. If we see what's happening in the industry, De Beers has adopted it. Of course, we have the CEO of Tiffany's making very proud statements about diamond traceability being an incumbent responsibility of his tenure. Louis Vuitton on traceability, not only within the diamond and jewellery supply chain, but out into luxury goods. So it's pretty clear what EVERLEDGER has achieved. We have 2.5 million diamonds on the chain. Traceability in some of the gemstone nations like Tanzania are well underway, where we've supported in safe contractual spaces for 50 Tanzanian women to be able to finally trade colour gemstones in a safe contractual environment. I was proudly appointed by the Queensland Government last year, the Premier of Queensland, as the Chief Entrepreneur for the state under the Minister for Innovation. There's no secrets about the geological stability that Australia has. We, of course, dig the earth and we provide that across the world, whether that be in coal-based economies or whether that be in gold, in cobalt and even lithium. And part of the work in my tenure has been to not only understand the mapping of natural resources, but to be very loud about what we need to be thinking about in terms of conscious consumerism. Not just about where it's come from, but where will it go to next. There is mobile phones sitting probably in every person's hand and pocket. Some of you are looking at it right now. But what's inside that phone that counts? Lithium and cobalt. We're talking about the battery supply chain. There is not going to be a house, there's not going to be a building, a car, or even a device that doesn't rely upon the battery supply chain. Yet when we understand where the essence of those supply chains enriched from is the Congo DRC for cobalt, what is happening with the traceability, not only in its primary life, but in its secondary life? How can we champion and redesign the way we produce products, but more importantly, how can we redesign waste in a way that becomes valuable? Dell Computing partnered with the jewellery industry in a first-of-the-world pilot to enable the stripping of rare earth metals and minerals to enable that to be reused into the jewellery industry. If there's something that we'll stand for as EVERLEDGER, it is not only being able to answer the question, where did it come from, and EVERLEDGER knows, but we'll also say no. That the humanitarian impact on the things that we are consuming is at a point where we need to start to question. And so this platform has the answers. Thank you.